Executive Council approves energy transition plan. Facebook stock tumbles as inflation and supply chain issues dampen Q4 earnings. And oil prices take a breather as OPEC Plus sticks to output plans. The program is Business Express and we're reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Leah Katun. Baba Tunde. It's a beautiful, bright morning from the nation's capital city, Abuja, and it's good to have you join us on Business Express this morning. We'll start by informing you that the Federal Executive Council has approved an energy transition plan for Nigeria. It is aimed at achieving net zero carbon emission in the country by the year 2050. Minister of State for Environment Sharon Ekeazo announced this while briefing journalists after the meeting of the council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari.
This memo clearly set out the pathway for Nigeria in achieving this. Policy on waste management will create a lot of jobs in the circular economy for Nigeria and at the same time protect the health of Nigerians to make sure that hazardous waste like waste batteries are properly disposed of with regulations and including recycling in Nigeria.
2.4 billion naira was approved for the dualization of 131.4 kilometers Kano-Kazauri highway.
The instructive thing is that the financing will be done by the tax credit scheme of BUA International Limited, and they will use Mrs. PW Construction Nigeria Limited, a company in which they have acquired some interest to undertake the construction.
The federal government has exempted bonds and short-term government securities from income tax for a period of 10 years, except for bonds issued by the federal government. A circular by FIRS says the tax-paying public is hereby invited to note that income tax applies to income derived by companies from bonds and short-term securities effective from the 2nd of January 2022, except for bonds, of course, issued by the federal government. Taxpayers are expected to comply with the law by including such income in the self-assessment returns and tax computation of companies and paying appropriate taxes. For clarity, such bonds and short-term securities on which tax is due effective from the 2nd of January 2022 include short-term federal government of Nigeria securities such as treasury bills and promissory notes, bonds issued by state and local governments and their agencies. We move on to the technology market where Facebook owner Meta's shares plunged more than 20% late Wednesday after the social media company posted a weaker than expected forecast blaming Apple's privacy changes and increased competition from users, rivals like TikTok. Facebook's global daily active users declined from the previous quarter for the first time to 1.929 billion from 1.93 billion. Meta said it faced hits from Apple's Inc.'s privacy changes to its operating system, which have made it harder for brands to target and measure their ads on Facebook and Instagram. It also cited macroeconomic issues like supply chain disruptions. The 18-year-old tech giant, which also faces pressure from platforms like TikTok and Google's YouTube, said it expected slowing revenue growth in the coming quarter due to increased competition. And so we move to the business of the day. The Central Bank of Nigeria recently reviewed downward the charges for electronic banking transactions and electronic banking transactions. It slashed charges for automated teller machine, ATM withdrawal, and interbank transfers. ATM withdrawals that attracted a service charge of 65 naira will now be 35 naira after the third withdrawal within the same month from the bank, of course, that is not the domiciled account. It also slashed the interbank transfers to a maximum of 50 per naira transaction from 300 naira. Many Nigerians, if not most Nigerians, will no doubt celebrate this. But what could be the reason behind the review and what are the economic benefits? Ayode Jebo, head retail investment at Chapel Hill, Denham, joins us from Lagos for some answers. Good morning, Mr. Ebo, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
How is Lagos this morning?
Yeah, I think the weather is favorable, and the harmattan has reduced, so we're happy about that.
I guess some serious luck there for Lagosians. So let's start by asking you, there's been a whole lot of review, if you might say. Firstly, help us make some sense of it. How will these changes be affecting the banking public, me, you, and every other person?
Okay, thanks. I think the CBN is reacting to the clamor of Nigerians that the cost of banking transactions are really very high. So, for instance, based on estimate, banks would make about or made about 200 billion from electronic charges or transfer charges last year, which is very significant. And when you also look at this vis-a-vis financial inclusion, surveys have been carried out several times, and it's been observed that customers are very responsive to high charges. So you would see banks now use that waiving of charges as a major point of competition. That if you have for instance, you may have some banks says if you have your salary account with them, there will be no charges on transactions. Some gives you a number of transactions that you can carry out for free in a month. So looking at that, I think the CBN is also trying to see how they can balance between having more people to bank as well as also ensuring that the banks are also profitable or some making money from this. So looking at some of the reductions, so I would say this was also published in 2019. So I think what the CBN is also trying to do is to just reinforce this. So ATM charges been cut down from 65 naira to 35 naira, and which is only applicable after your third withdrawal within a month. You also look at the transfer charges. You see if it's below 5,000, I think that's 10 naira. If it's below 20,000, then you're charged, I think, 20 naira, which is also trying to graduate that. So, and which, when you look at the structure of the economy, where a lot of people would also fall in. So I feel that it's positive for the economy. Yes, on the side of the bank, rather, it may not be too favorable for them because of the huge amount of income that they get from this in terms of fees and commission that they get on these transactions, because it's reviewed most of all the transactions, the transaction charges, and put a cap on what they should charge. So
Okay.
by and large, I think that
can I just come in here a bit? Now, over time, we've had some expert views say the multiple charges that the central bank had allowed the banks to charge customers has in a way made them not think outside the box on raising revenue, and then they just slam these charges, and then people would just have to deal with the consequences of that. So these reviews now, what will it mean for financial inclusion, knowing the fact that some people are averse to transactions with the banks because of charges?
Okay, thanks. I think what we would see is that there will be more comfort or more adoption of opening accounts with the banks once transaction charges will be reduced. So I think it's going to be positive. We would see more people trying to open bank accounts, and that is also going to be positive for even for the bank. So you look at it on a long-term basis in terms of economical scale use, having more people at lower charges will also give them more money. So you look at the NIPS statistics, I think for last year, that stated that total electronic transactions was around 278 trillion naira from about 168 trillion. That's about 71% on a year-on-year basis. So as we see more people adopt the electronic platform, more people also banking, it would also balance out whatever reduction that the CBN is also putting in place on a holistic basis. It will also help the bank. And lastly, to be specific on your question, banks, I also agree that it's one of the cheap means of getting income for the banks. So if CBN also needs to check this, as that income grows, the CBN needs to see how they continue to bring that down, because that's not the main purpose for being in business. Yes, there's the cost to infrastructure, but it should also be very minimal, given what we also see in developed climes.
Okay, so while we're looking at bringing down costs, how will this be affecting the retail POS persons on every street corner and the rural places? Will that affect the charges on those terminals as well?
Yes, I think for the POS is still at 100 naira. So I don't think that has been revised. So for those POS transactions, will still remain the same.
Okay,
But
great.
what we feel that will happen is, as number of transactions will improve, we'll continue to see that. I think that increased by about 51%. I can't recall the exact figure now, on a year-on-year basis based on the NIPS data. So we would see that CBN would also bring down that transaction cost, so that you can have more people comfortable to do transactions using the POS. I think minimum for POS is like 100. And if you think you want to transact or pay for something for 1,000 naira, they're already charging you 100 naira, you may be discouraged and you may not want to do that. So I believe that as we progress, we should continue to see a major revision downwards on these charges, so that we can have more people adopt the use of electronic channels, POS, mobile, as well as transfers.
Okay, great. So how will this be affecting the exchange rate for those who are doing cross-border transactions?
Okay, thanks. I feel that this review of charges did not talk about or discuss in terms of transaction charges for FX transactions. It's still really very high. Transferring offshore is really very significant, that sometimes it's very discouraging when you look at the volume, the amount, the several transaction charges you have to pay for. And I believe that CBN would soon look into this, so that they would also encourage people able to transfer online, and it will reduce the what we call the unofficial transaction that we have in the market, people using cash. That will really reduce it.
Okay, so on the whole, before I let you go, how do you see this shaping the financial services sector in this year, 2022?
Okay, thanks. So I believe that a review downwards would impact on the fees and income and commission of the banks. So the banks will have to look for other areas to cover that gap in terms of other businesses, maybe in form of loan or investments in securities. And for the populace, I think is positive for us. It will also aid financial inclusion. You have more people come into to join the financial system, and that would also help CBN even in terms of controlling liquidity. So when you have less cash in circulation, it's easier for the monetary policy to also control the liquidity in the system.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you for joining us on the program this morning. I've been
Always my
speaking
pleasure.
with Ayo Dijiebo, Head Retail Investments at Chapel Hill, Jinham. Surviving COVID-19 is next, as packaged by Nekaoko.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
My name is Michael. I'm a technician. This work, I have done this work more than 10 years now. The challenge we have here at times, it's hard for us to see past, and at times never will take light. If you want to walk, you don't see light. Anytime where there's no light, you can't walk anything. COVID-19, I didn't come out because police didn't allow anybody to go out. We stay indoor. I only survived by the little money I have in the account. We suffered. I started from square one. Because if you can see now, many things here are spoiled. This one, I bought it new now. I want to replace this one here. So we go to square one, everything. Even many things we park here, many of our engine where they use work, many of them scatter. But government not give us anything. They say they will give us loan. I don't apply 3 times. Last one I do in November. We never see anything up now. I've learned a lot. If it happen again, but we don't pray that it will come. If it happen again, I will stay indoor, but I will go with my tools. Because at times, we have work to do for house. Or anybody can call for work, can manage go. This one we have now, we're not going with anything. They just come and close this market down, everybody go. You go without anything.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
I got some lessons there going in the lockdown if it ever happens again with his tools. So we move straight to the spices market. Pepper. Yes, it's one of the most widely traded spices in the world and a common staple vegetable produced for human consumption, used in cooking food in many Nigerian homes, and it is getting out of the reach of the common man, some claim. Erica Ivy, who went to a major Watts market, tries to find out the present cost of pepper in view of the recent socio-economic situation in the country and its nutritional value.
Pepper, often known as the king of spices, providing flavor to any kind of meal, are excellent source of vitamin and are rich in antioxidants, which improves human immunity, is on a high demand in the markets.
Can you cook without pepper?
Can't cook without pepper.
If the food is not pepperish, I can't eat it. If I eat it, I'll throw up. So I eat pepper, but not much.
Any food without pepper, you're prone to throwing up now. So most times when you put pepper, it adds taste to the food, and you also feel comfortable eating pepper.
Respondents say all variety of pepper are good when added to any food, as it enhances the taste and increases appetite for healthy living.
you cannot actually cook with that pepper. You need at least a little of it. But for people that have ulcer problem and other things, you don't need to really put much. But for some of us, we really enjoy pepper inside me when it's very hot. When I'm eating it, it makes me sweat. So somehow I enjoy it. That's for me.
Pepper has been an integral part of our lives ever since. As long as you're an African, you eat pepper.
Makes the food tasty for you to eat and be satisfied. Because without pepper in the food, your food is not complete.
However, some others say pepper has become an expensive commodity in the markets.
Buy the good one, at least you see a little thing inside. If you buy the bad one, you will lose you. That is how the business is.
The pepper is 15,000. Probably we do buy it 8,000, but now we are buying it 15,000. So before you now sell the pepper finish,
Mark cup 300. This cup 600. Like basin 5,000.
Nutritional experts maintain that pepper are low in cholesterol, saturated fat, and sodium. Therefore, people should add pepper to their meals to enhance the arteries for blood circulation and improve metabolism.
I can't eat without pepper. Pepper is very good. Pepper does so many things in the body. It increases the circulation of blood. It makes the body to be warm and hot like this Harmattan period. If you cook with pepper, it will make your body to be hot, whereby circulate the blood in your system, making you to be fit and healthy.
Vitamins that the body needs to act as an antioxidant to your system. And so we need pepper in our everyday food, but to a minimum level so that, when you take things above the level, it causes problems to balance it up.
They also advise people to take advantage of the nutritional value of pepper for body enhancement, but should be eaten with moderation to avoid adverse effects. In Calabar, Erika Evie for Business Express.
Of course, what is your Yoruba stew without pepper? I mean, it doesn't work that way with us. So we move to the energy market where oil prices eased on Thursday following weak U.S. payrolls data and some profit taking, but remained underpinned by tight supply as OPEC Plus producers talk to plan moderate output increases. Brent crude fell 17 cents or 0.2% to $89.3 a barrel after rising 31 cents on Wednesday. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was down 31 cents or 0.4% at $87.95 a barrel, having gained 6 cents the previous day. Economists say this morning's dip might be as a result of the shockingly low U.S. ADP employment print last night, but they believe the supply squeeze may drive oil prices higher through this year. U.S. private payrolls fell for the first time in a year in January, raising the risk of a sharp decline in employment that would deal a temporary setback to the labor market. We move straight to the commodities market. As the stock market resumes this morning, let's bring you up to speed with yesterday's closing figures, where Nigerian equities depreciated in the midweek trade, the first loss to be recorded this week. At the close of trade yesterday, the NGX All Share Index lost 0.38%. to settle at 46,930.66 basis points. Market capitalization depreciated to 25.2 trillion naira as 434.9 million shares exchanged hands valued at 6.2 billion naira in 5,878 deals. Fidelity Bank, Transco and Cudfield dominated the activity chart. And outside home, let's join Neka Oko for a summary of performance of global stocks.
The rally in global stocks weakened on Thursday following disappointing earnings from technology pacesetters. U.S. equity futures dropped in early trading, with contracts on the technology-heavy Nasdaq 100 down some 2%, while the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average also slipped. Asia-Pacific markets traded mixed on Thursday amid some lingering concerns about global growth and ongoing geopolitical tensions. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 fell 1.09%, while a number of major markets in Chinese mainland and Hong Kong remain closed for the Lunar New Year holidays. European stocks are expected to open flat to lower, with investors focusing on the outcome of the European Central Bank's next policy meeting. The UK's FTSE index is expected to open 2 points lower, Germany's DAX 43 points lower, and France's CAC 40 down 19 points. African markets are expected to open mixed this Thursday after a positive trading session by most stocks the previous day. South Africa is already seen opening marginally positive, while Namibia is pointing downwards.
And that's all we have for you this morning on the program. Business Express returns Friday by 3 p.m. I am Leah Katungbaba today. The weather's a bit cold, so just eat a little pepper. Have a nice day.
We want to talk about rights, there are obligations. I'm not saying that this government is a saint, it's very far from it. But there are things that we can do to make it better, and that's the challenge I'm throwing to you. You don't want to build this nation? I don't know where else you want to go. If I had a choice, I'll come back. When I stand outside and I hear what you have to say about this country that I know that I can die for as one, then I'm really sad because you're young. You have education. You have tools. You have a huge future ahead of you. And you're condemning yourself before you started on that journey. So please don't do that. Please don't.
This vaccine is safe, and it has been certified safe and usable by NAFTA.
Hello and welcome. It's time for another interesting package of
Everything Music.
Angelina, you dey cool in my temperature. If you call
This is Talking Movies.
In times of old, the world was full of wonder. No!
Sustainable results.
Federal government inaugurates committee on resettlement of IDPs. President Buhari to attend 35th ordinary session of Assembly of the African Union Heads of States and Governments.
The bandits as terrorists, my understanding was that they are going to be dealt with ruthlessly now. I wonder whether that is the case.
Urges security agencies to rescue 38 persons kidnapped by gunmen in Katsina State. House to investigate alleged recruitment infractions in Nigeria's Social Investment Trust Fund. And now the news in details. The Federal Executive Council has approved an energy transition plan for Nigeria. It is aimed at achieving net zero carbon emission in the country by the year 2050. Minister of State for Environment, Sharon Ike-Azor, announced this while briefing journalists after the meeting of the council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports on these and efforts at enhancing the delivery of critical infrastructure projects.
Without doubt, the global race towards decarbonization is underway. After decades of incremental but insufficient progress, public and private action on climate change is now reaching a tipping point. Nigeria's commitment to net zero was first made public by President Muhammadu Buhari in November last year while addressing COP26 in Glasgow, Scotland. The Minister of State for Environment says the approval of the Energy Transition Plan by the Federal Executive Council is critical if the country is to drive maximum benefits from the net zero ambition across all sectors of the economy.
This memo clearly set out the pathway for Nigeria in achieving this.
Waste battery management policy has also been approved for Nigeria.
This policy on waste management will create a lot of jobs in the circular economy for Nigeria and at the same time protect the health of Nigerians to make sure that hazardous waste like waste batteries are properly disposed of with regulations and including recycling in Nigeria.
And in furtherance of efforts at addressing the nation's critical infrastructure deficit, 115.4 billion naira was approved for the dualization of 131.4-kilometer Kano, Kazaure and Kongolam highway.
The instructive thing is that the financing will be done by the tax credit scheme of BUA International Limited, and they will use Mrs. PW Construction Nigeria Limited, a company in which they have acquired some interest to undertake the construction.
Transportation Minister Rotimi Amechi also secured over $315 million approval for consultancy services in respect of the various railway projects in parts of the country. These include Port Harcourt to Maiduguri, Kano Maradi, and Abuja Warri rail lines.
We've gone to Standard Chartered Bank. They've approved some level of funding for Kano Maradi. We are also pursuing Port Harcourt Maiduguri with Standard Chartered Bank. These two, essentially, the Lagos Kano, part of it will come from Standard Chartered Bank, and part of it will come from some commercial banks or some banks in China.
Contract has also been approved for the construction of new corporate headquarters of the National Health Insurance Scheme.
Of course, the need has become inevitable to expand what is on ground to improve the operational efficiency of that agency.
In the meantime, the Federal Executive Council has approved a concession agreement between the federal government and a private firm for the management of Onitsha River Port in Anambra State for a period of 30 years. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari will today embark on a 4-day trip to the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, for the 35th ordinary session of Assembly of the African Union Heads of State and Government. President Buhari will join other African leaders in finding solutions to political, economic and social challenges facing the continent, guided by the theme, Building Resilience in Nutrition and Food Security on the African Continent, Strengthen Agriculture, Accelerates the Human Capital, Social and Economic Development. On the sideline of the AU meetings, President Buhari will hold bilateral talks with some leaders with shared interest in improving trade relations, partnering to tackle security challenges and maintaining relations with multilateral institutions for sustainable development. The president will be accompanied by some ministers and top government functionaries. Meanwhile, President Buhari is assuring Nigerians in the northeast of massive turnaround in their respective communities from the protracted insurgency to peace, stability and sustainable development in the coming months. This was while inaugurating the Presidential Committee on the Repatriation, Return and Resettlement of IDPs in that geopolitical zone of the country. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
In 2015, I pledged to Nigerians that I will restore peace in the Northeast and return it to the path of development and growth. I remain committed to this promise.
The inauguration of the high-powered committee followed the increasing gains recorded in the battle against terrorism and insurgency through the combination of both kinetic and non-kinetic methods. Already, tens of thousands of internally displaced persons have returned to their ancestral homes and formally resettled.
Going forward, we aim to take more action-oriented and outcome-driven implementation approach that will lead to visible and sustainable results.
The committee is to, amongst others, develop a 3-year plan of action that will provide a clear pathway for the restoration of peace and development, give dignity to the affected population, ensure coordinated peace-building and reconciliation programs, as well as implement a phased plan for the return and resettlement of IDPs and restoration of livelihoods.
Let every member of this committee know and understand that there is an enormous task ahead of us. On this momentous occasion, history beckons and Nigerians call on you to be the team that will finally chart this new path to restoration of sustainable peace and progress in the Northeast. And I strongly believe this could lead to the bringing of a template for addressing insurgency and instability in other parts of our country and across the world. Failure to deliver on this task you have been assigned is not an option.
The Presidential Committee comprised the Ministers of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Justice, Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Interior, Defense and Foreign Affairs, as well as the National Security Advisor. Also in the committee are the Chief of Defense Staff, Inspector General of Police, Directors General, Department of State Services, National Intelligence Agency, Northeast Development Commission, and the National Emergency Management Agency. Other members include the Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, and the Chief of Defense Intelligence.
The entire Northeastern State Government will give maximum support to this committee. We will provide the necessary support to the federal government under the distinguished leadership of Mr. President. We shall provide all support to the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and others and the military to ensure that this process yielded the desired result.
The Presidential Committee members charged by the President to adopt, amongst other guiding principles, greater accountability, delineation of duty, and community-driven methods in addressing issues at hand are also expected to submit a monthly progress report. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And as the Northeast Development Commission continues to expand collaboration for the rebuilding of the Northeast devastated by insurgency, the Belgium government says it has been injecting €5 million annually to contribute to the humanitarian crisis in the area. Belgium ambassador to Nigeria, Daniel Bertrand, said this in a meeting with the management of Northeast Development Commission in Abuja. Ilyasu Yakubu reports.
The Northeast region has for over a decade been experiencing devastating attacks by insurgency that claimed many lives with property worth billions of naira lost. As a result of this menace, the region was engulfed by humanitarian crisis which brought about hunger, displacement, and untold hardships on the people. To salvage the situation, the present administration under President Muhammadu Buhari's watch saw the need to establish the Northeast Development Commission with the sole aim of rebuilding, rehabilitation, and resettling displaced persons. Since the establishment of the commission, it has been extending hands of collaboration to achieve its set objectives. Only recently, the Commission engaged ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as security agencies, to effectively deliver on its mandate. This collaborative meeting between the Commission and the Belgian ambassador to Nigeria is to further solidify the interventions.
I personally visited Borno State twice, and I wanted to better know your organization and to know also what we can do together. Belgium has a very strong interest in developing its bilateral relationship with Nigeria.
We are now trying to fully develop our master plan. We've been now directly engaging with them to make sure that all the resources required are gotten and channeled to the right sectors.
The Commission promised to further look inwards to those areas that will harmonize effective interventions. In Abuja, Ilyasu Yakubu, NTA News.
Senate is urging security agencies to ensure the rescue of 38 persons kidnapped by gunmen in Ruwangodia, Katsina State. This follows a motion by Senator Bello Mandia at Wednesday's plenary. John Yakuk has details.
The motion explained that despite government's efforts in curbing insecurity in the country, these crimes have persisted. Senate urged federal government to deploy security personnel and fighter jets to apprehend the bandits and restore normalcy in the affected communities.
If this menace is not drastically promptly addressed, the consequence is going to be huge on food sufficiency, since the affected communities are mostly farmers.
When we declared the bandits as terrorists, my understanding was that they are going to be dealt with ruthlessly now. I wonder whether that is the case.
It's not.
The military, like some of our colleagues have said, need to wake up.
Also at plenary, the bill for an act to establish the National Social Security Commission and that for the establishment of a National Veterinary Research Institute, Gombe, passed second reading and were referred to the relevant committees.
The security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government.
This proposal oriented from the need to establish an institutional framework to support the only veterinary research institute in Plateau State.
7 nominees for appointment as National Commissioners and Electoral Commissioner of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, were confirmed by the Senate after considering the report submitted by the Senate Committee on INEC.
Nigeria is expecting a lot from them, and they will have a baptism of fire because 2023 is just by the corner. In fact, the process has already started.
Meanwhile, Senate has received a presidential request for the confirmation of nominees as Executive Director, Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, as well as Executive Director, Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, and others. From the National Assembly, John Yaku, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Ahead in the news, House to investigate alleged recruitment infractions in Labour Ministry. These and more when we return. The alleged lopsided recruitment into management cadre positions in the Nigeria Social Investment Trust Fund has caused the House of Representatives to launch an investigation. The House says such practice negates the principle of federal character. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
When Representative Ismail Tijani raised the issue, in which he said information have it that the recruitment in NSITF and other agencies under the Ministry of Labour and Employment are fraught with irregularities, House members called for investigation.
Only people from one particular part of the country are being recruited in the current exercise. But the allegations that are on the table, you find fresh graduates having positions of managers, including the minister's son. That's what it is captured.
The committee should also investigate all MDAs where recruitment or replacement exercises are currently going on.
Relevant committees were mandated to investigate and recommend appropriate sanctions on anyone found wanting. The Constitution Amendment Bill seeking expansion of Code of Conduct of Public Officers, sponsored by Representative Shehu Kakali, passed second reading.
To enable public officers undertake agriculture as well as health production and services as a proposition which will allow more persons engaged in agricultural production and to curtail the risk of food insufficiency and health insufficiency in the country.
Also passed for second reading is the bill to establish Institute of Arid and Climate Studies in Malfa, Borno State, sponsored by Ibrahim Mohammed Bukar, to address impact of climate change in Nigeria, and the bill from Representative Al-Mustafa Aliu seeking the establishment of Federal College of Land Resources, Raba, in Sokoto State.
Offer to the general population a form of public service, the result of training and research in land resources technology and allied disciplines, and foster the practical application of those results.
The bill seeking amendments to Bank Employees Act, which proposed 20-year jail term for bank staff engaged in fraud, sponsored by Ejirogene Waive, received wide support.
It is to increase the punishment for bank staff who are involved in fraudulent activities in customers' accounts.
Where we discovered that a lot of bank officials are involved in fraudulent activities.
Bank officials suffocate and frustrate their customers for no reason, because there is no legal framework that brings those officials to order.
The bank itself should be liable to the point of putting back the victim in the state where he was prior to that fraud.
It passed second reading, including the bill to amend Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act, sponsored by Abubakar Fulata. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
The need for youth to embrace skills acquisition took center stage during the distribution of starter packs for skills graduates in Anambra State, courtesy the Department of Skills in the Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment. Talk of teaching someone to fish so he or she could eat for a lifetime. Chinyere Fesi Okoye reports that the minister, Chris Ngige, was in attendance.
Moving from glory to glory, strength to strength, grace to grace is usually the prayer of everyone, especially at the beginning of a new year, capped with the saying, New Year, New Beginning.
Establish a bigger farm with this, and we'll make more money.
To the 69 beneficiaries of the second phase of Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment Empowerment Program in Anambra State, out of the 3,000 people targeted in the next 1 year, new chapter of progress has been opened in their lives.
I'm a machinist.
So as this gen set, I use it when there is no power.
Aimed at creating further employment for the masses. In view of scarcity of white-collar jobs, the 50 million naira worth of empowerment items include power generating sets, industrial grinders, water pumping machine, plus more, with the beneficiaries of this phase drawn from 4 local government areas.
This one is what we call all-purpose empowerment for people who want to be farmers or people who are farming and who want to enhance their farming.
Third phase of the program is expected to take place in April. In Oka, Chinyere Fesi Okoye, NTA News.
Nigeria Customs Service says standard operating procedure will be instrumental to meeting its 3.1 trillion naira target for 2022. Let's join Kunle Adeyeye for details.
The Nigeria Customs Service generated 2.4 trillion naira in 2021, and its target for the year is 3.1 trillion naira. The service emphasized that its staunch stance on illegal deals and eagle eyes kept on the borders were part of what enabled it achieve that feat in 2021. The Public Relations Officer of Customs, Joseph Atta, said the service will leverage on strict implementation of its standard operating procedure and increased automation of processes to meet up with the target.
The ICT modernization unit of the service have been upbeat every time, tuning out ICT tools that have continued to enable optimum performance. By this, I'm referring to increasing automation of our processes and procedures. And once you are talking about automation, you are removing those man-to-man, man-to-man influences that can be a source of compromises.
The customs spokesperson said these processes will aid trade facilitation. With Business News, I'm Kunle Adeyeye.
For those who misconstrue President Buhari when he said he will take 100 million people out of poverty, Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Raji Fashola says should follow him to understand the statement better. This was when he embarked on road inspection and interaction with the people of northwest Nigeria. Abdullahi Mohammed reports.
Burrowing through the harsh weather with a quorum of specialists, the minister's fleet stepped on the throttle. In proving a point, the big and atom-sized picture of the progress made on the construction of the Abuja-Kaduna-Kano highway must be laid bare. And so, every mile on the highway matters, with the eye of the emissary and the public in every stop.
137 kilometers.
Each kilometer, a revelation of the uniqueness of the method being used to build the highway. First, the component of the old is recycled, and the refined materials are then laid back to form the new.
We are planning to start rolling out way bridges, but
on arrival in Kano, Katsina-Kano Highway, a product of Sukuk, was subjected to the test tube. The stability of the camera shoot from one of the vehicle in motion gives you an idea of its integrity. But most importantly, this is the road by which the biggest grains market in Africa lies. You may begin to wonder how much cheaper it will be for farmers and traders to move their grains to this market as a result of building these highways from a single lane years back. This are the little drops of payback by the Buhari-led administration to the chain of activities which slowly but surely pull out millions of Nigerians from penury.
What I earned for just these 30 days, nobody will believe.
But where else would the emissary of the president tell this story than a gathering of youths from across the northwest Nigeria?
When we were coming in 2015, what did we promise Nigerians? A it is happening now. A 3-hour journey is now 30 minutes.
Traveling back, the difficult task of managing construction with commuters in some point is prevalent.
Vacate the right of way so that the contractors can work more efficiently.
Just by the Kaduna-Zaria highway, another completed housing project waiting for occupants. This, for the minister, is another giant stride with a wave of benefits that touches lives. In Abuja, Abdullahi Muhammad, NTA News.
First Lady of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, has expressed delight over support of the Nigerian governors' wives in an effort to improve the lots of women, youth and children. The First Lady said this in a message during the presentation of a document tagged Compendium of the Activities of the First Lady and Wives of Governors in Nigeria 2015 to date. State House correspondent Aliyu Kabir reports that the compendium also captured the developmental activities of the wife of the Vice President, Dolapo Oshibajo.
Since inception of the President administration in 2015, the First Lady of Nigeria under the Aisha Buhari Foundation and Future Assured program, in collaboration with the Nigerian governors' wives under their various pet projects, have been engaging in various developmental programs for complementing government effort towards improving the lives of Nigerians at all. Areas of focus include education, especially of a girl child, healthcare service such as maternal health, economic empowerment of women and youth, and many other giant strides geared towards promoting lots of women, youth, and children. The programs are carefully documented as a compendium in a 229-page book by the National Center for Women Development to serve as a reference and to inspire future First Ladies and wives of governors in order to complement government effort towards the empowerment of Nigerian women and children.
The purpose is to ensure that the developmental strides of the First Lady and the wives of governors are adequately captured and documented. This demonstrates our collective response to democracy and commitment to leadership. The achievements of the Nigerian First Ladies since 2015 have been tremendous. Their projects cannot be adequately covered in one volume, but only summarized to depict our strides.
The wives of the governors and other stakeholders reaffirmed their commitment towards supporting any developmental programs targeted at women, youth, and children.
The role of a First Lady has the potential to be a powerful platform for influencing change and advancing governance and development goals. According to the First Lady,
the publication, which was reviewed by Professor Patricia Donnelly of the University of Maiduguri, also recommended for academic purposes. From the State House, Aliyu Kabir, NTA News.
This is the news at 10, reaching you live from Abuja. More reports ahead. Stay with us.
We want to talk about rights, there are obligations. I'm not saying that this government is a saint, it's very far from it. But there are things that we can do to make it better, and that's the challenge I'm throwing to you. You don't want to build this nation? I don't know where else you want to go. If I had a choice, I'll come back. When I stand outside and I hear what you have to say about this country that I know that I can die for as one, then I'm really sad because you're young. You have education. You have tools. You have a huge future ahead of you. And you're condemning yourself before you started on that journey. So please don't do that. Please don't.
This is the network service of the NTA.
The Sustainable Development Goals are the most ambitious global agenda ever seen. They are designed to end poverty, reduce inequality, and protect the planet by 2030. The SDGs also envisages a world that will give the best to this generation without compromising the resources for the future. At the heart of the conception and implementation of the goals are the youth, who constitute the largest block in the population. Young people play a significant role in the implementation, monitoring, and review of the agenda. With political commitment and adequate resources, young people are also believed to have the potential to make the most effective transformation of the world into a better place for all. It was in a bid to continue promoting the youth agenda and help them contribute meaningfully to the implementation of the SDGs that the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs recently delivered an ultra-modern youth center to the Abuja community in Lagos State.
Please open the youth center at Maryland constituency.
The Adekunle Mini Youth Sports Center, which comprises a pavilion and football pitch, is located at the Okobaba in Ebutimeta area of Lagos. It has a 600 seating capacity, floor lighting, solar street lights, and conventional toilets. The center, according to Princess Adejoke Orilokpe Adefolire, is one of the many strategic interventions embarked by the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals to fast-track the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, across the country.
We have talent, and talent must not be hidden. Let's bring these people out. And if there's anybody that has open space and want this type of project, don't hesitate to contact us. We want ready to support. So not only in Lagos, anywhere you have it across the country, Nigeria.
The facilitator of the project and member representing Lagos Mainland Federal Constituency, Honorable Olajide Jimo, noted that the intervention was well conceived for the benefit of the good people of Lagos State, majority of whom are youth yearning for recreational facilities.
This center is a place where the youth can have intellectual, physical, and mental development for healthy, recreational, and human capacity. The center has football pitch, pavilion, toilet facilities, lights, and well-secured environment. You all know that sports is an unseen investment. I, therefore, appeal to our youth, community development association, private individuals, corporate organizations, and government to take the ownership.
Princess Adejoke Orilokpe Adefolire further noted that the project is yet another intervention geared towards the actualization of President Muhammadu Buhari's cardinal objectives, which include economic growth, fight against corruption, and ensuring security at all parts of the country. She added that her office is committed to prioritizing key interventions with multiplier effects on the achievement of these objectives as the country continues to fight its way out of the challenges orchestrated by the COVID-19 pandemic, which is threatening to reverse decades of human development gains and undermine the achievement of the SDGs. While it is important to note that the SDGs are interrelated, interconnected, and often indivisible, the newly commissioned Youth Center is directly linked to the achievement of the SDG 3 on quality health and well-being for all, SDG 8 on decent work and economic growth, SDG 15 on life and land, and SDG 16 on peace, justice, and strong institutions. To start with, the pavilion and football pitch offers the team and youth the opportunity to keep fit, perfect their football skills, and along the line secure career in professional sports with significant number of unemployed youth. This will not only bring about decent employment opportunities, but will keep our younger ones away from crime and criminality. Indeed, the role of sports in the nation building cannot be overemphasized.
More on youth development, because we need to develop our youth spiritually, economically, and physically. So if you develop them spiritually, educationally, economically, without physical development, you have not done anything. So they must exercise themselves so that they can keep fit and live long. So this project is very, very important for the future leaders. We don't call them future leaders again. They are leaders of today for tomorrow.
Princess Adejoke Orilokpe Adefulire reaffirmed the commitment of President Muhammadu Buhari to the achievement of the SDGs by the year 2030 and promised that her office will continue to prioritize interventions with potential impacts on the lives of the poor and vulnerable members of the society, so that no Nigerian is left behind. Dignitaries at the event united in their accolades for President Muhammadu Buhari, his advisor on SDGs, and the facilitator noted that with projects like the Youth Center, young people can reach their full engagement, empowerment, and development.
This area was just a dumping area before, but now you can see it. And I hope the generation coming behind will make a better use of this place.
Today, we are making another history, a big history, in time of sport by bringing up this kind edifice, Maranatha Stadium in Okobaba. This particular venue, as far as the history can take me, is taken in another development in the fourth edition. The fourth edition that this stadium will be transformed. And we are happy that this latest one is of high standard.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want. With everyone on board, we focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the global development agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations, and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
According to the United Nations statistics, there are over 1.8 million people between the ages of 10 and 24, and they are the largest generation of youth in history. Close to 90% of them live in developing countries like Nigeria, where they make up a large proportion of the population. This number is expected to grow as we approach 2030 terminal date of the SDGs. Connected to each other like never before, young people want to and already contribute to the resilience of their communities, proposing innovative solutions, driving social progress and inspiring political change. They are also agents of change, mobilizing to advance the Sustainable Development Goals to improve the lives of people and the health of the planet. Provided with the necessary skills and opportunities needed to reach their potential, young people can be a driving force for supporting development and contributing to peace and security. But President Muhammadu Buhari, through the office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, is not resting on his hours in the quest to make the country a better place for young people. The office recently delivered a state-of-the-art skill acquisition center at the National Youth Service Corps camp in Shagamu, Ogun State. The Ultra Modern Skills Acquisition and Entrepreneurship Development Training Center facilitated for the training of corps members and other interested members of the public was commissioned by the Director General of the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, Brigadier General Shuaibu Ibrahim. The Skill Acquisition Center is designed to be a strategic tool for the economic empowerment and cater for various life skills trainings for young men and women in the areas of sewing, fashion and dressmaking, information and communications technology (ICT), photography, hairstyling and cosmetology, barbing, catering, tiling and interlocking, automobile, aluminium fabrication, welding, and plumbing. The facility, which is one of the numerous centers constructed and equipped across the country, also has provision for short-term training on bead making, soap making, makeup artistry, event planning, painting, drawing, weaving, and shoemaking.
Everything that is here is digitalized. The ICT center is the biggest. If you have learned computer before, you must advance here. And the design of clothes can be done on computer. So everything you need to know, you don't have to be a bricklayer. We are not saying you should be a bricklayer or you'll be a plumber or be a mechanic, but you have the basic knowledge of what it looks like. If you don't want to be a sewing mistress or fashion designing or whatever it is, but if you have if you know the basic here, you can design your clothes, you can design for your family. That saves you a lot of money. But if you choose to expand on that, you can have your paid job and establish this fashion house, which lawyers and judges and everybody are having now. So they can have additional income to support your family.
Speaking at the commissioning of the center, the first of its kind in any NYSC orientation camp nationwide, the NYSC DG lauded the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals led by Princess Adejoke Orilukbe Adefuliwe for the speed in the building and equipping the multi-skills edifice at the Shagamu Permanent Orientation Camp of the NYSC in Ogun State within 1 year. Brigadier General Shuaibu Ibrahim also commended President Muhammadu Buhari for providing the structure equipped with the best of learning facilities for the training of core members and interested youth in the state.
We, the management, know that we do tell our core members that white-collar jobs are not readily available anywhere, and that is why in 2012, NYSC introduced what we call the skill acquisition and technology development training for all our core members. For having given us this beautiful edifice, well equipped with modern equipment, I can assure the SSA to the President on SDG that we are going to take and make maximum use of this structure and equipment given to us. And I can assure you as well that the core members are going to make maximum use of it. And at the end of the day, take thousands of people of Ogun State from non-employment market, because the skills they are going to acquire here will also be translated to the good people of Ogun State.
The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, Princess Adejoke Orilukbe Adefuliwe, traced the OSAP SDG's partnership with the NYSC to 2017, when 400 young core members were enlisted as NYSC SDG's champions and trained in various skills, adding that under the innovative TAP project, her office had also empowered over 800 core members with the needed skills for the 21st century job market, while also seeking to expand employment opportunities for the teeming youth.
Since 2017 that we assumed office, more young people are engaged as NYSC SDG core champion. They were trained in vocational study and the TAP program known as the August project. We are empowering 800 core members with all the skills for the 21st century market to seek employment opportunity of our teenage youth at this camp. Likewise, the revised National Youth Policy of 2019 to 2023 was formulated by the federal government of Nigeria to enhance youth development and participation in the context of sustainable development. The strategy draws for the youth policy targets cut across 5 sectoral development pillars: productive workforce and sustainable economy engagement for youth, health and health promoting lifestyle, participation, inclusiveness and equity, equitable opportunity for all the youths, promotive and protective environment for youth development, and 5, partnership and effective collaboration. Evidently, appropriate strategy to mainstream the concern and needs of our youths into national development efforts are receiving priority attention by the federal government. I want to urge all the youth that are built to be trained at this center to consider themselves fortunate and use the opportunity wisely, so that in no time they can be employers of labor and contribute positively to the socio-economic development of our country.
Dignitaries at the event who rained accolades on the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals also expressed their conviction that youth, when empowered with the right skills, can transform their livelihoods and contribute meaningfully to the economy. This position was particularly echoed by the state coordinator of the NYSC in Ogun, Dr. Belinda Fani.
The The opportunity came when Her Excellency, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, Princess Dr. Adejoke Orolokpe Adetulure, visited the orientation camp to sensitize corps members in December 2020, and I strongly appealed to her to assist in the construction of a Said Center within the camp because there is space, accommodation for our corps members who want to come in after the camp for the post-camp training and community development service. It is with great joy that I humbly state here that Her Excellency did not just agree to construct this beautiful site center, first of its kind in any orientation camp nationwide, but said she was going to put it in place within 2 months, and she did that. Please, can we put hands together for her? She did not only put in place this Said Center, she also has adequately equipped the center with state-of-the-art equipment that would equip our youth corps members with the fundamental skills needed in the business world by making them wealth creators, entrepreneurs, and self-reliant, since the white-collar jobs were becoming elusive. The skills to be taught were in the areas of bead making, farming, agro-allied, fashion designing, makeup, soap making, hairstyles, cosmetology, food processing and preservation, field and photography, to mention a few.
This scheme, NYC scheme, is the best thing to have ever happened to this country. And we should all fight to ensure that this thing is sustained.
For youth corpers who are transient in our state, they will also be able to seize the opportunity of the few weeks they have in the orientation camp to either brush up their existing entrepreneurial skills or learn new skills here, which can then be useful for them once they move on into their future endeavors.
As was emphasized by Princess Adejoke Orolokpe Adefuliwe, the Youth Center in Ebute Metta and Skill Acquisition Center in Shagamu were delivered with the realization that no meaningful progress can be made in the areas of economic development, securing the country, and stamping out of corruption in the society without productive engagement of the youth. The government is also of the view that the projects are part of its efforts to halt and reverse the worrisome rate of unemployment in the country and set it on the path of progress.
Nigeria will continue to support the United Nations in all its efforts, including the attainment of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. I thank you.
Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
We are the SDG champions in Niger State. We support SDG. Join the campaign.
Agenda 2030. As a successor framework for the Millennium Development Goals, the global community rolled out a bigger, deeper, and more encompassing framework called the Sustainable Development Goals, designed to transform our world, lift the poor out of poverty, as well as ensure inclusive and healthy society. On Agenda 2030, we take you on a media trip to the global destination of the future we want, with everyone on board. We focus on the people and their struggle, the civil society and their agitations, the government and her development effort, the Global Development Agenda, its 17 goals and 169 targets. We bring you all the deliberations, insightful conversations, and high-level partnerships on the road to global destination. Agenda 2030, showing on this channel. Agenda 2030, leaving no one behind.
Everything is architected and designed by the Almighty.
Someone who is a Christian is someone who lives a life of
Christ.
Jesus Christ. And the life of Jesus Christ is a life of sacrifice.
Yes.